I work as a photographer for a modest private firm. Recently, I received a commission from a magazine to shoot an elderly woman, and the remuneration was very attractive. Excited by this opportunity, I began my search for a suitable model. I looked at all the women I knew, but none matched the age criteria. Faced with this dilemma, I decided to consult my wife, Emma. "There are options," she said. "How about my mom, Clara? She's getting older and might be interested in making some money." "What kind of shoot?" asked Emma. "In pretty lingerie," I replied. Emma pondered this for a while. We started discussing options together. Posting ads didn't seem like a good idea. I didn't want to get a lot of women I'd have trouble screening out. Emma slapped herself on the forehead and said, "I'm an idiot. I have a mom, Clara. How could I have forgotten about her? She's definitely the right person for modeling. Great figure. Not overweight. She's retired, and her legs are still slim. Plus, she looks after herself. She has a beautiful face." "Do you think she'd go for it?" I asked. Emma called her mom and briefly explained what was required of her. Clara thought for a few minutes and agreed. I was delighted and arranged to meet her at the studio. In the evening, Clara arrived at the studio, looking fabulous, haircut, manicure, the whole deal. She went behind the curtain to change her clothes, and I sat quietly by the camera, adjusting the lighting and setting up the background. Then Clara stepped out from behind the screen and I whistled. She looked gorgeous. In normal clothes, she's an average woman in her 50s, but in lingerie, wow. She noticed my reaction and started to get a little flirty. "How do I look?" she asked, assuming a playful pose. I swallowed hard. "Let's get started, and you can get comfortable in front of the camera. Walk back and forth, relax so the shots come out natural." Clara started walking, clicking her heels. She moved with such grace that I thought she might as well be a professional model. I took a few pictures and then asked her to sit on the table and lean against it. Clara followed my instructions flawlessly, and I felt myself starting to worry. The tension was palpable. She noticed it and blushed, looking at me expectantly. "Let's see how this goes," I thought, putting the camera aside. I walked over to her and things got raucous and passionate. When we reconvened, Clara asked if there would be more sessions. I explained that the shoot would last 3 days. Then we would select the best shots, process them, and send them to the client. Clara smiled and hid behind a screen while I finished the job. The next morning, preparing for the second shoot, I thought of Clara. There was something about her energy, her playfulness, that sparked something in me. I've always enjoyed my work, but this was something different, more personal, more exciting. When I arrived at the studio, Clara was already there, chatting with one of the assistants, and her laughter filled the space. She turned and waved me over, her eyes sparkling. "Ready for round 2?" she asked with a mischievous grin. Clara walked and relaxed, like she'd been doing this for years. Her new lingerie was even sexier, with lace and garters. She took different poses and I took pictures, but of course I couldn't resist, and Clara didn't mind taking a break. We had one more day left, the third. Emma was no longer interested in the process. She said she would wait for the final result. On the third day, Clara came and the shoot was brilliant. Everything was perfect. It's been a long time since I felt that way. Afterwards, as I sat editing the photos, Emma looked over my shoulder, impressed. "Let's get her on staff," she suggested, "for group shoots when we need a mature model next to the young ones." The idea sounded great to me. Emma talked to Clara herself. I stayed out of it so my interest wasn't obvious. Clara readily agreed, saying, "Why not? I have nothing to do in retirement, and this could be fun." Clara started working with us, and the commissions started coming in: clothing ads, food photography, and even some personal projects when the studio was empty. Clara was making progress. Her poses were getting better and better each time. Emma didn't suspect a thing, and all was well at home. Clara was the cherry on top, something I couldn't resist. And when she suggested a bathtub shoot in the studio, I winked, liking the idea. "It's warmer in there," she said, "and we won't get cold." On the day of the bathroom shoot, Clara came in with a mischievous smile. She brought scented candles and rose petals, wanting to create the perfect atmosphere. We set up the tub in the center of the studio, filling it with warm water and plenty of bubble bath. Clara undressed behind a screen, and when she came out, she looked amazing in her robe. She stepped into the water to let the bubbles cover her, and I started taking pictures. Clara posed naturally, her expression changed from playful to sultry, and the candles cast a warm glow on her skin. The photos turned out beautifully, and I was mesmerized by her. After a while, Clara threw me a look that spoke volumes, and we both realized what was going to happen next. I put the camera away, and we let the moment take over. The warmth of the water only intensified the passion between us. The next few weeks were very busy. We had several more shoots, some for clients, others just for fun. Clara became part of our team, and her confidence grew with each session. She even started coming up with ideas for shoots, one in a field of wildflowers, another in an elegant evening dress at sunset. Her creativity was inspiring, and I enjoyed every moment of working with her. Emma continued to support me, often commenting on how good the photos turned out. She had no idea the bond that had developed between Clara and I intended to keep it going. My relationship with Emma remained strong, but with Clara it was something else, an unspoken understanding, a reverence that was impossible to ignore. One day, after a particularly successful shoot, Clara and I were sitting in the studio with a bottle of wine. We talked about everything: life, her retirement, how much she enjoyed modeling. She confessed that she hadn't felt so alive in a long time, and I felt the same way. There was something liberating about these minutes we shared, something that went beyond the camera and photos. As the sun set behind the window and soft orange light flooded the studio, Clara looked at me and smiled. "I never thought retirement would be like this," she said. I raised my glass to her. "Here to unexpected adventures," I replied, and we both laughed. Clara's presence in the studio changed everything. She began to take more responsibility, helping the young models, guiding them, and even organizing some of the shoots herself. Her passion was evident, and it inspired everyone around her. She became an integral part of the studio, and her energy breathed new life into everything we did. One of the most memorable shoots we planned was a masquerade-style evening. Clara loved the idea of mystery and enchantment, and we organized an elaborate setting complete with masks, elegant dresses, and candles. The atmosphere in the studio that evening was magical, and Clara shone. She moved gracefully, her eyes met mine through the mask, and I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by her presence. The photos turned out stunning, capturing elegance and sensuality, and this has become one of my favorite projects. The thrill of our mystery kept me from getting bored. Every stolen glance, every subtle touch when no one else could see, was all part of the dance we created. And as long as Emma remained in the dark, I saw no reason to stop it. It was risky, but the reward was worth it. Clara was worth it. One evening, Clara suggested we try something even more daring. She wanted to do an outdoor shoot, something intimate but in nature, with the possibility of being seen. I was hesitant at first, but the idea of a challenge and the excitement of something new piqued my curiosity. We planned a secluded spot in the nearby woods where Clara could feel free and uninhibited. When the day came, we set off together, both of us full of anticipation. The forest was serene, with rays of sunlight shining through the foliage. Clara changed into a light, flowing dress, and we set about shooting. Her movements were graceful, and the setting only emphasized her beauty. As she twirled and danced, her laughter echoing in the quiet forest, I felt a strong connection to her, something almost primal. She slipped out of her dress, and for a moment it seemed as if time had stopped. There was just Clara and I, surrounded by nature, and nothing else mattered. We spent hours there, capturing moments that felt raw and authentic. Clara's confidence was mesmerizing, and the energy between us was electric. Eventually we took a break, settling down on the blanket we had brought with us. Clara snuggled up to me, and we kissed slowly and gently, savoring the moment. It was a reminder of how far we'd come, of the bond we'd built over countless shoots and stolen moments. That evening when we returned, I couldn't stop thinking about the shoot. The photos were beautiful, capturing something pure and real, but it was the experience that stayed with me. Clara became so much more than just a model or muse. She was a confidante, a partner in creativity, and in those moments when I withdrew from the world, she was my salvation. Our secret became an integral part of my life. Clara was my escape, my excitement, and my inspiration. Emma remained in the dark, and I kept my marriage intact. But the bond I shared with Clara was something completely different, a different kind of love built on passion, creativity, and understanding. It was risky, but the excitement of the unknown, the thrill of our adventure made every moment worth it. Clara's impact on the studio was undeniable. She became a beacon of confidence and creativity, her passion evident in every project we took on. Her laughter filled the space, her energy encouraged everyone to do better, to push the boundaries. And while Emma remained in the dark, our adventures continued, one photo shoot after another, one shared secret after another. Each day brought something new, and we embraced it all, never knowing what was next, but always eager to find out. One of the last projects we worked on was a collaboration with a designer specializing in vintage clothing. Clara loved the idea of being transported back in time, and we transformed the studio into a retro wonderland. The shoot was filled with old-fashioned props, vintage dresses, and classic cars. Clara embraced every aspect, her charm shining through in every shot. It was the perfect culmination of everything we had worked on together: elegance, creativity, and that unmistakable connection between us. Late one night, sitting in the studio editing photos from a vintage shoot, I realized how much Clara had changed my life. She wasn't just a model or a muse, she was my partner, my confidante, and my inspiration. The thrilling mystery kept things exciting, and as long as Emma remained in the dark, I saw no reason to stop. The risk was great, but the reward, Clara, was worth it. And so our adventures continued, each shoot bolder than the last, each moment together more intense, and we always looked forward to what was next.